Hello students, are you ready for your next flipped grammar lesson? I hope so. For this lesson you will need your Whisk worksheet and a pen or a pencil. If you've lost your copy of the Whisk worksheet, you can get another one off of Miss Rule's website. Under Unit of Study for this lesson, please write main verbs and helping verbs. Once you've got that ready to go, in the W section, write where and when you watched this video, and then we will be all set to get started. As always, let's start with a quick look at what you probably already know. Let's look at a definition for what is a verb. Well, the verb in a sentence shows action, or it shows state of being. We practiced a lot with verbs at the very beginning of the year when we were talking about subjects and predicates. Remember that a verb is the simple predicate of a sentence. Also in writing, we've been working on making our verbs very precise and very vivid in order to convey our meaning accurately to our readers. On this page, I put an example of each type of verb. The first one is an action verb because we would be able to observe that verb with one of our senses. So he passed the ball to his teammate. We could see him pass the ball, and passed is the verb in the sentence. Next, it was an accurate pass. Has the word was underlined. Was is one of the state of being verbs. Earlier in the year, we called them the tricky verbs, the ones that they don't look like they would be verbs, but they are. Those were the forms of be: am, is, are, was, and were. I hope you'll always remember that those words are always verbs in a sentence. Now you've probably guessed that our theme for this week is sports, and in a moment you're going to start watching some videos of various classmates performing in a variety of different sports. In the first video, you'll see your classmate Lucy performing a short gymnastics routine. At first, I want you to watch it and think of some action verbs or state of being verbs that you could come up with while watching the video. Then the video will repeat again with an example that I came up with. Well, I thought that was pretty amazing. The action verb I had come up with was flips, and the state of being verb I had come up with was is, and I used those verbs to create sentences about Lucy's video. Coming up, we're going to be looking at how we can use more than one verb together to make something called a verb phrase. When a sentence has a verb phrase, that simply means that the verb of the sentence is made up of more than just one word. Instead, the verb contains a main verb and at least one helping verb. There are 23 different helping verbs which are in the Wordle on the side of this slide, and I'm also going to teach you a song in a minute to help you remember what those helping verbs are. But anyway, the helping verbs are placed in front of the main verb, and the function of the helping verb is to give us a better idea of what tense the verb is in, meaning is it past, present, future, and then later on we'll get into dealing with things like present progressive, which is the tense that these two sentences are in. He is playing in the game tonight is our first sentence. Is playing is underlined. Is the helping verb in the sentence, and playing is the main verb. Underneath we have the same type of pattern. I am planning to cheer him on. Am planning is our verb in the sentence. Am is the helping verb, so it comes first, and planning, the main verb, comes after it. One thing to take note of. You might see the phrase in that second sentence, to cheer. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, cheer is an action, so isn't that a verb? Yes, you are correct. However, because the word to, T-O, is right in front of the word cheer, this is not really acting like a main verb or main verb phrase in the sentence. This is called an infinitive verb phrase. Anytime that you see to and then a verb, you've got an infinitive verb phrase, and those phrases sort of act like adverbs and adjectives rather than like the verb of the sentence. So be careful. If it's got to in it, don't underline it as part of your verb phrase. If you have a sentence that contains a verb phrase and you're having trouble trying to find that verb phrase, memorizing these 23 helping verbs should make it a lot easier. This helping verbs song is sung to the tune of Jingle Bells. I didn't make it up myself, but it's something that you can find on the internet in various places. And here's how it goes. Helping verbs, there are 23. Am, is, are, was, and were, being, been, and be. Have, has, had, do, does, did, shall, should, will, and would. There are 5 more helping verbs, may, might, must, can, could. I really encourage you to try to remember this song in order to help find the helping verbs and verb phrases in a sentence. Next, watch the video of the students bowling at our recent bowling party and see if you can come up with some sentences that contain verb phrases, which means they have a helping verb plus a main verb. Give it a try. In the previous video, I came up with the verb phrase will try. Will was the helping verb and try was the main verb. What kind of verb phrases did you come up with? After you've thought about that for a while, let's move into how we will diagram verbs. This is mostly review because we did work on diagramming verbs when we were working with subjects and predicates earlier in the year. Remember that verb phrases serve as the simple predicate of a sentence. Let's watch how to diagram a few sentences that use just plain verbs and also verb phrases. When you're going to diagram a verb or a verb phrase, you start with just your basic diagram that we have used in the past. So, first you need to identify the subject and the verb in the sentence in order to put those in the correct places. The subject of this sentence, or the noun that's doing the action, is she. So, she is written in the subject part. Thank you for your help, James. Next, we have to think of what is the action word or verb in this sentence. In this case, we have the word one, and that's going to go in the verb spot. Thank you very much, sir. Okay, now we have a direct object in this sentence because we had an action verb, so we want to think about what received the action. What was won? Well, in the sentence, the scholarship is the direct object that receives the action of being won. So we put scholarship, thank you, sir, in the direct object spot on our sentence diagram. We know that this is a noun. In this case, it's a pronoun, which is a special kind of noun. And over here, we have another noun. SHIP is one of our noun endings, so we know we've got our diagram correct so far. The last thing that we need to do is put in any articles or prepositional phrases or adjectives or other kinds of things like that. So let's go ahead. An and athletic are both acting as adjectives in the sentence. So we'll draw a line down underneath the noun. Those words are modifying. And we have a complete diagram for this simple sentence. She won an athletic scholarship. Okay, next we are going to look at what's the same and what's different about diagramming a sentence that has a verb phrase, which is just a verb that's made up of more than one word. So we'll have a helping verb and a main verb. In this sentence, Natalie has been playing soccer for many years. We don't have just one verb in the sentence. Natalie is the subject because she is performing the action. So just like usual, we'll write Natalie or the subject in the subject spot. Then we need to figure out what is the verb. Well, we know playing is an action verb, so that's pretty easy to figure out. But I see that I have two helping verbs in front of playing, and those helping verbs are giving me an additional idea as to when this playing occurred. So I'm going to put all three of those together in the verb spot because they are working together to form the main verb of our sentence. So far we have Natalie has been playing. Once again, we need our direct object that's receiving the action. So soccer is the thing she has been playing. We'll add that in the direct object spot, and we have it as a noun, so we know we did it right. And now we have our final piece that we need to diagram, which is the prepositional phrase, for many years. Now we have to think about where we want to put it. For many years is telling us more about when she played, so we know it's acting as an adverb prepositional phrase. So I will make my line coming down off of the verb. Preposition goes on the slanty line. My noun, years, ooh, I'm not writing that very neatly, goes on the horizontal line. And then many is our adjective, modifying the noun years. So we will put that on a line coming under years. So we're getting into a few more complicated sentence diagrams as we're talking about our verbs and verb phrases this week. Good luck. The last thing we'll be talking about this week are the cases in which the forms of have and do could be either a main verb or a helping verb. You just need to pay attention to the meaning of the sentence to figure out whether these verbs are the main verb or the helping verb. The forms of have are has, have, and had, and the forms of do are do, does, did, and done. So let's take a look at a case when these words are the main verb in a sentence. He has an extra jersey in his gym bag. Has is the only verb in the sentence, so it's the main verb. Next, she did 3 laps around the field. Did is the only verb in the sentence, so it's the main verb. However, in some cases, these same verbs, or forms of the same verbs, can be used as helping verbs, which means they will come before the main verb in order to give more information or clues about the tense. Let's look at the first example. They had been working on a few new plays. Had been working is the verb phrase in this sentence, and had is one of the helping verbs to the main verb working. Finally, we do see a lot of improvement in our game is our next sentence, and do see is the verb phrase in the sentence. In this case, however, the form of do, which in this case is just do, is acting as a helping verb to the main verb see. So really pay attention to whether the verb is the only verb in the sentence, in which case it's the main verb, or if it's acting as a helping verb for another verb in the sentence. Have I said the word verb enough in this video? Let's see who's still listening to the entire video. On the back of your Whisk worksheet, draw a picture of someone playing your favorite sport and write a sentence about your picture and highlight or underline the verb or verb phrase in your sentence. Then in the S section, write a 5-sentence summary of what you learned from this video. Feel free to go back and watch all or part of the video again in order to make sure you fully understand the material. Finally, in the Q section, write a question you might have about something you did not understand in the video. And if you have no questions, you should create a test question for your classmates. Make sure you turn in your assignment on time, and we will see you next week.